Okay, guys, now we are going to read a nonfiction text called Google. And it's going to give us the background of how Google became such a huge sensation in the world. Okay, and it's an informative text, obviously, which means it's going to give us information. So I want you to think about, what is the author's purpose here? Is it to entertain? Is it to inform? Or is it to persuade? Is this an entertaining story about Google? Is this an article trying to get us to use Google more than other search engines? Or is this an article that is just giving us information about how Google came to be? Okay. Now, there is some vocabulary in here that you may be wondering about, but remember, think about your context clues as I'm reading. Okay, I would love for you to follow along with me as I read. And I am using my highlighter tool as I read through this to highlight things that I think might be important. Okay, so here we go. Google. You know that you're doing something big when your company name becomes a verb. Ask Xerox. In 1959, they created the first plain paper copy machine. It was one of the most successful products ever. The company name Xerox grew into a verb that means to copy. As in, Bob, can you Xerox this for me? Around 50 years later, the same thing happened to Google. Their company name grew into a verb that means to do an internet search. Now everyone and their grandma knows what it means to Google it. Unlike Xerox, Google wasn't the first company to invent their product. Not by a long shot. Lycos was released in 1993. Yahoo came out in 1994. Alta Vista began serving results in 1995. Google did not come out until years later in 1998. Though a few years difference may not seem like much, this is a major head start in the fast-moving world of tech. So how did Google do it? How did they overtake their competitors who had such huge leads in time and money? Maybe one good idea made all the difference. There are millions and millions of sites on the internet. How does one search engine know which ones are relevant to your search? This is a question that great minds have been working on for decades. To understand how Google changed the game, you need to know how search engines worked in 1998. Back then, most websites looked at the words in your query. They counted how many times those words appeared on each page. Then, they might return pages where the words in your query appeared the most. This system did not work well, and people often had to click through pages and pages of results to find what they wanted. Google was the first search engine that began considering links. Links are those blue underlined words that take you to other pages when you click on them. Larry Page, co-founder of Google, believed that meaningful data could be drawn from how those links connect. Page figured that websites with many links pointing at them were more important than those that had a few. He was right. Google search results were much better than their rivals. They would soon become the world's most used search engine. It wasn't just the great search results that led to Google becoming so well liked. It also had to do with the way that they presented their product. Most of the other search engines were cluttered. Their homepages were filled with everything from news stories to stock quotes, but Google's homepage was, and still is, clean. There's nothing on it but the logo, the search box, and a few links. It almost appears empty. In fact, when they were first testing it, users would wait at the homepage and not do anything. When asked why, they said that they were, quote, waiting for the rest of the page to load, end quote. People couldn't imagine such a clean and open page as being complete, but the fresh design grew on people and once they got used to it. These days, Google has its hands in everything from self-driving cars to helping humans live longer. Though they have many other popular products, they will always be best known for their search engine. The Google search engine has changed our lives and our language. Not only is it a fantastic product, it is a standing example that one good idea and a lot of hard work can change the world. Okay, so as you can see, I highlighted several different things as I was reading through the Google article. Now, a good rule of thumb when reading an article like this is to read it through the first time without highlighting anything, then read it through again and make notations against the things that you don't understand, words that you might need to look up, put question marks out to the side, or highlight information that you think might be very valuable to use on a test, a quiz, a paper, an assignment, something like that. That's called annotating, by the way. Okay, so what I've done is I have pulled up an assignment that I would have based on this text. Okay, so let's look at this right here. Which event happened last? Read your choices and then jot down an answer on a scratch piece of paper. Okay, so if I was going to come up with what thing happened last, I know that Google released their search engine. They were last, right? So I'm going to mark that, whoopsie, as my answer. And it took the whole thing. Okay, I meant C. Okay, let's look at number 2. Which statement would the author of this text most likely disagree with? Now, it's really important as you're going through questions after reading an article like this to make sure that you are looking for anything in bold. Remember, we are interacting with this text, so if it's put in bold, it's meant to get your attention, okay? Because you can guarantee you that questions like this are kind of trying to trick you. All right, they think some people might not see the word disagree and that they might just pick an answer that means agree. Okay, so we're going to look for disagree. Part of Google's success is due to the design of their homepage. Google succeeded by following examples of others in their field. Google wasn't the first search engine, but it was the best. Google's successes may not have been possible without Larry Page. So if I'm looking at all of these, I know that number 1 is true, right? They would not disagree with that. They know that their homepage is one of the reasons people liked them so much. They also know they weren't the first, but they are the best. And we also know that Larry Page was the one who came up with the link idea. So the answer is B. Now, let's look at number 3. Which best expresses the main idea of the third paragraph? Okay, so we're going to come back over here. 1, 2, 3. Here is the third paragraph. All right, so there are millions and millions of sites on the internet. How does one search engine know which ones are relevant to your search? This is a question that great minds have been working on for decades. To understand how Google changed the game, you need to know how search engines worked in 1998. Back then, most websites looked at words in your query. Now, if you were reading through this, do you know what query means? Query means like a question or a search term that you've put into Google. So if you went to Google and typed in your thing, that's your query that you want to be looked up. Okay. They counted how many times those words appeared on each page. Then they might return pages where the words in your query appeared the most. This system did not work well, and people often had to click through the pages and pages of results. Okay, so let's look at the question again. Which best expresses the main idea of the third paragraph? There are lots and lots of websites connected to the internet. Yeah, I don't think that expresses this very much. I mean, this is about really how unreliable stuff was, how it didn't shoot back the right results. So I don't think it's A. B, Google created a better way to organize search results. That is true. That is true, but is that the best answer? I'm not sure. Many smart people have worked on search engines over the years. Definitely not it, because that's not even part of what we have here. Okay, older search engines were unreliable methods to order results. Aha, I think that one might be it, because it really did talk about how all of the other search engines would send back page and page and page, page after page after page of information that didn't really help the user. So I think it's letter D. All right, so here we go. What was the author's main purpose in writing this article? Okay, so again, this is not going to give us our pie: persuade, inform, or entertain. Instead, it's really looking for why they wrote this article, what they wanted you to learn, what was the main point. So let's look. A, to explain how Google overtook its rivals. B, to compare and contrast Google and Xerox. We know it's not that one. C, to persuade readers to use Google for internet searches. I don't know that it was trying to persuade. I think it was just giving us facts. To discuss how companies can influence language over time. No, I don't think it's that. I think it is to explain how Google overtook its rivals. Okay, so yes, it did talk about how Google became a verb, but that was just one paragraph. And then it went into how Google became the best thing since sliced bread, right? So that's the correct answer for number 4. Number 5, which statement would the author most likely agree, notice the bold, agree with? Let's see. Google became successful because its founders were well connected. I don't think it really talked about that, did it? B, Google was the world's first and best search engine. Well, we know that's not true because there were other search engines that came before it. It might be the best now, but it can't be B because there were others that came before it. Google changed the world by solving an old problem in a new way. That definitely could be it. Let's read the last one. Google's other products are now more important to its success than search. Well, no, I mean, it said right over here that they were doing lots of other things, but that the search engine would always be what they were known the most for. So our answer is C. So as I'm walking through this and I am talking through why I'm choosing the right answers, I want you to be doing the same. So I'm going to give you just a few minutes. I want you to pause the recording and I want you to look at number 6, which best expresses the main idea of the 4th paragraph. So the 4th paragraph is 1, 2, 3, 4. It's this paragraph right here at the top of the page. Okay? So look at the answers, pause the recording, and we'll come back. Okay, so if you came up with the answer of B, B is the correct answer to the main idea in this paragraph. It was all about how Larry Page came up with his own ideas, right, to bring Google to the forefront of the search engine world. Okay, so we've done, these are sort of recall questions and also questions that really make sure that you understood the article when you read it. Okay, let's look down at what some possible short answer questions might be. What can readers learn about Google's approach to doing business based on reading this article? Use information from the text to support your response. Okay, well, what are some things that you learned as you read this article? I think if I was going to type here, it would be like, look for alternate ways to solve a problem. It does not want to let me type. It just stopped. It would probably be something like simplicity is better than clutter. Like people's brains like simple things better than they like cluttered things. And I would use specific quotes from the text. So if I said people like simplicity, I would go find a quote over here where they said people couldn't imagine, right here, people couldn't imagine such a clean and open page. Okay, so make sure when it says that you need to use text information from the text to support your idea, that you are being very specific and that you're pulling quotes. Say something like, the text said, and then put the text.